Hey everyone, Incoherent here, back with another channel update, unfortunately, but this should be the last one in a while. Here's the really quick version. I just finished the Julii campaign, and tomorrow I'm going to be uploading the postmortem on it. But the day after tomorrow, I'll be dropping down to 2 videos daily. I know, only 2 videos a day. Fucking outrageous. The current workload I have is far too high, and I only did it because I had just committed to twice daily Rome uploads, and then found out Subnautica below 0 release, and I didn't want to back out of what I had promised. So, for the foreseeable future, I'll be uploading Germania at 10 AM, Subnautica below 0 at 4 PM, every day. Once Subnautica finishes, I'll be starting a new campaign for Rome Total War, and as new games come out, or I get interested in random side projects, I will do those, but I will not do them as additional videos. I will be replacing the secondary campaign videos. I actually really like the way that twice daily uploads feels as a workload. I've just pushed myself clearly too far, and the reason I did that is because I had just made a video announcing twice daily Rome uploads, and then immediately afterwards found out below 0 came out, and I figured the easiest and best solution was just to take on a greater workload myself. And now that I have at least lived up to that promise for a little while, I feel better about dropping the second Rome series and doing Subnautica until it finishes. But that's not all this video is about. In fact, most of what this video is about is that what I am actually going to be backing out of is doing long campaigns for all 19 Rome factions. Because after finishing the Julii, it's apparent that doing a long campaign for all of the factions would take an outrageous amount of time. And also that it would largely be unnecessary in terms of showing you what the faction is like, playing it myself, and getting an educated opinion on it so that I can make a well-informed tier list. A long campaign is strictly unnecessary. The last 10 episodes at least of the Julii campaign, you've known I was going to win. I owned the north of Italy, the African coastline, and the Balkans. None of this was necessary. The game has been won for a while now. So for some campaigns, I'm still going to be running long campaigns. However, I'm definitely going to be running a lot of short campaigns as well as I play across all of the factions in Rome Total War. Alright, so you joined me at a tier list, but not a tier list like you've seen before. This is just the simplest way for me to organize factions and show you what I plan to do in terms of short and long campaigns with minimal work on my part. S tier are my long campaigns I've already started. A tier are going to be short campaigns. And these are grouped in a way where it makes it easy for me to go through them and show you what I plan on doing. So let's start with the Roman factions. They all play basically the same. I'm probably doing short campaigns for both of them, but there's a chance I play a long campaign on the Brutii as the very last campaign I do, just as a victory lap, showing 18 campaigns of experience and absolutely crushing the game with what many people consider to be the easiest faction in the game. Now, since I've already got a Barbarian faction played, let's talk about Barbarians next. Gaul, Britannia, and Spain are all very similar to Germania, and that they are traditional Western barbarians that have very similar fuck Rome expansion paths. Now, Gaul I literally can't justify playing because they are so similar to Germania just without phalanxes. Britannia and Spain I feel worse about saying I don't want to play long campaigns of. Britannia's reasoning is that they're really just going to be Germania, but they start off conquering Germania, or just be Gaul, but start off conquering Gaul, and they have a better army. So once you've finished a short campaign as Britain, you have already clearly shown what the rest of the campaign's going to be like. It's going to be like Germany's campaign was, except with chariots instead of phalanxes. Spain actually has a very interesting expansion path, where they take over Spain and coastal France and then come into Rome. They can also expand navally and take over northern Africa, come up through Sicily into southern Rome. And this is all very interesting, but there's another faction that does the same thing that I care about much more, and that's Carthage. Carthage is just a much more interesting Spain, and for that reason I'll be playing a long campaign with Carthage instead of Spain. Then we come to Thrace and Dacia. Dacia's best plan is to conquer Thrace and then just be bad Thrace. So of course Dacia is going to be a short campaign, where Thrace is going to be a long campaign. And Scythia might be a barbarian faction, but they don't play like a barbarian faction. All the horse archers are in the same group. They are factions with incredibly powerful units, to the point where I worry the campaign is going to be tedious, and considered putting all 3 of them in the short campaign group. But I'm going to play one to completion. So the way these 3 factions differ is that Scythia has the weakest enemies, Parthia has the best infrastructure, and Armenia has the best roster diversity. I think. I'm not 100% sure on that. But in terms of a long campaign, roster diversity is what I'm looking for more than starting infrastructure or weak enemies, so I picked Armenia to showcase the horse archer factions in a long campaign instead of a short campaign. Next, we're going to cover what's left of the Eastern factions, because we've inadvertently already picked all the Eastern factions, except for Numidia and Egypt. Now, Egypt is a short campaign. Egypt is going to be an absolute curb stomp, and by the time that I've used chariots and whatever cheap armies they have at low tier units to destroy the Seleucid Empire, it's going to be very obvious what the next 30 turns look like, where I use chariots and endless economy to steamroll through Anatolia, the Balkans, West Africa, Sicily, Italy, you name it. I can go there, I can kill them, it's not going to be challenging. Numidia, unfortunately, gets a short campaign for the complete opposite reason. They're a really hard start that's very interesting, and then you're Carthage. I'm already playing Carthage, I don't want to play Carthage with no unit diversity, so I'm going to make them a short campaign where I show off the start, at which point I'll have conquered all of Africa, probably went to war with Egypt too, definitely went to war with Egypt too, and at that point I won't really see much need to continue playing them. Now for the Hellenic factions, I feel like there are two groups and each one's going to get a long campaign. The Hellenic factions in the Balkans and the ones in West Asia. Now in the Balkans, I think Greece is obviously just a much more interesting faction than Macedon. Macedon's roster is more one-dimensional, their start is easier. Greece seems like they're more set up to have an interesting long campaign than Macedon is, and for that reason I'm picking Greece. But the other reason is that Macedon uses proper phalanxes. So do these two factions, and so I'd rather have Greece, who uses hoplites, as the long campaign, to juxtapose the phalanxes of the Seleucid Empire. Putting Pontus in the short campaign category really hurts me. Pontus is actually my sleeper favorite faction. I probably played as many games as Pontus as I have as Rome. But between the two factions of the Seleucids and the Pontics, they have basically the same roster diversity. But the Seleucids have this really difficult, strenuous start, where once you've stabilized the Seleucids, you're well past the point of a short campaign victory. Meanwhile, as Pontus, by the time you've gotten your short campaign victory, you've killed Armenia, you've consolidated Asia Minor, you're clearly set up to win the game. It's very obvious how the rest of it will play out, and I don't see much need to play past that point. So this is the setup going forward. I'm going to finish Germania and then play 5 more long campaigns, and I'm also going to play 12 short campaigns. In addition to that, whenever I have 2 uploads at once going for Rome Total War, I'm always going to have my 10 a.m. upload be a long campaign and my 4 p.m. be a short campaign. Hopefully they'll time out to finish around the same point. Who knows? Anyway, that's it for today. This should be the last channel update for a while because there's not going to be any surprise changes to workload after this, I hope. From what I hear, the Warhammer 3 release date is sometime in November, but that's a leak so it could change. And you can bet that once Warhammer 3 comes out, that's the game I'm going to be playing. Hopefully I finish this well before November though, because if I do, it'll mean I have time to play some Warhammer 2. And that's really important, because I have never played a Total War game that came out after Medieval 2. So I might have some catching up to do with modern Total War mechanics before I can get into Warhammer 3. Anyway, this has been Rather Incoherent. This should be the last channel update for a while, but I've been thinking that every time I uploaded one so far, and I'll see you around.